publications are the heartbeat of Medium. Especially the top-notch publication with hundreds of thousands of followers can be key to your success on the platform. The Writing Cooperative belongs to the top 10 publications on Medium and has more than 260,000 followers. Also, Justin Cox is the founder and can tell you how to become a writer, get accepted and published in the publication of your dreams. So, Justin, so great. I finally meet you after all these years. So I've been writing on Medium for more than 3 years now. And I love the Writing Cooperative, like one of the biggest publications on Medium. And it's so nice to meet you today. And for all those watching this right now, could you tell us a bit more about the Writing Cooperative and why this publication is so awesome?
Yeah, well, thank you, Christina. I've been on Medium for a decade, and the Writing Cooperative, we're actually getting ready to hit our 10-year mark for the publication itself, October of this year. And so the Writing Cooperative, it started as a way to help Thank you. It started as a way to help writers improve their work. And so we were really just a group of writers on Medium back in the really early days of the platform. And since then, we've evolved into a full-on publication with the goal of continuing to help and support writers by providing stories from other writers about their experience, what they've learned, how to improve their writing quality. We focus on all types of writing. So fiction, nonfiction, online, whatever it might be, we have articles about it. And the goal is to help writers improve their craft is really the main focus.
And I can remember back in 2020 when I started that you didn't do it alone. There were some other writers or editors too there. Could you share a bit more about this? You know, how this evolved, that you're now a one-man show here on Medium?
Yeah, so when we first started, there was 4 of us. Over the years, as time changes and people's availability changes, and some of those original folks have left and pursued their own kind of things, which is great for them. And we all parted on really good terms, but today I am the sole person behind the Writing Cooperative, which some people think I'm crazy because of the volume that comes in and out, but it's something that I'm able to manage, and I enjoy helping other writers and support writers by managing the publication.
And you've been doing this then since 10 years. And could you set a bit the scene and tell us a bit about the volume? Because I know from your newsletters that you're often talking about the volume and also about your acceptance rate, which isn't that high. Could you share a bit more about this? Because, especially newish writer, they would want to get published in the Writing Cooperative. How many submissions do you get, and how many people or articles do you reject?
I review submissions on a weekly basis. And typically I'm seeing 75 to 100 submissions a week, give or take. It's been a little while since I've actually counted how many, but typically when I have counted in the past, the acceptance rate is usually around, depending on the week, anywhere from 30 to 40%, I would say, is accepted. We wanted to be the premier kind of place for writing advice that is quality advice. And so as part of that, we really kind of narrowed our focus, and we were looking for high quality, personal experience-based stories on writing experience. And so that's the acceptance rate for the publication. As a part of kind of doubling down on quality, I also added a layer to requesting to be a writer. There's a draft requirement for requesting to be a writer. And unfortunately, that acceptance rate is way lower than that 30 to 40% range. Kind of feels like a little waste of my time sometimes when people submit things that have nothing to do with writing, that stories about whatever, and request to be a writer, when it's very clear that our submission rules has to be writing focused. And so unfortunately, there's just a lot of that comes through. And so I review writing requests every 2 weeks, and it's typically in that same kind of 75 to 100 range every 2 weeks when I do it. And that percentage of acceptance is probably under 10%.
Hey, it's Christina. If you want to learn more about how to become a better writer and get published in the publication of your dreams on Medium and beyond, then join the online writing club and the online writing school. This is my membership experience. I hope to see you inside. Bye. See you there. And if I am a writer who would love to become a writer for the Writing Cooperative, so I would then have to fill in this form and share my name, my handle, and everything, and also already a first draft for your publication then? Okay, cool. Then you would check this draft and see if it's a fit or not. And if I would get rejected by you, would I get then an email or something? How do I get this notification?
I use Flowdesk, which is a email marketing thing, basically, because that way I was able to set up some automated workflows. And so if it is a rejection, then it lets them know, hey, this wasn't the right draft. You're welcome to resubmit or re-request again. And if it's an acceptance, it tells them they're all good. And I think it links out to how Medium describes how to add stories to a publication.
Let's talk about if I would get accepted. So I'm a new writer. I want to get published in the Writing Cooperative. I know what you are looking for. And then I would get accepted by you. And I would have already also added my draft. Would then my draft get already published?
Yeah. So unfortunately, Medium does not have that smooth of an onboarding flow for new writers or publications. And so if you're accepted, then the email encourages you to then resubmit the article now that you're a writer of the publication. And so then we would go from there and get it, scheduled out and whatnot. Sometimes there's some formatting tweaks that need to happen. It might not be perfect, but it's a good enough first review to get into to be a writer and go from there. But it would be nice if Medium had a smoother onboarding flow for new writers and publications, and it's not there yet.
So if you're then a new writer, you would have your draft, on Medium in this minimalist editor, and then you would see the Writing Cooperative. You could add this publication then, and I would then send it to you, would check it, and then you would also give me feedback on it, I guess, or you would change it for me, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I try not to change things unless it's just if it's formatting relating, like if I need to change some headings or subheadings to the right format or move a photo to the right place, that kind of thing. I don't like to change content. So if there's things that are content related that need to be changed, then I'll leave notes to say what that is. I know that my kind of standard reply note if something is not a fit can be a little generic. I try to put as much detail into it as I can. But if something is really close to being publishable, but I think it could be improved in any kind of capacity, I'll leave more of developmental style edits notes to say, hey, if you did XYZ, I think you could get this across the finish line. Or sometimes I say, hey, I think this is good as it is, but I think it could be great if you do XYZ, and kind of put it back in the writer's hands to say whether they want to make those changes or not. I believe that all editors provide opinion and feedback, and it's not the rule of law. And as the writer, my voice and my idea is important. I don't want people to change what they've written just to appease me, because at the end of the day, there's a billion other publications out there. And if it's not a perfect fit for the Writing Cooperative, that doesn't mean that it's not good. It's just not fit for what we publish, essentially. There was a number of years actually, when we just kind of took anything related to writing. So how to use grammar properly, or how to not use grammar properly, and when to break the rules. And all of that, I think, is important and has a place, and all of that exists, and it's searchable and it can be found. But these days, what excites me and what says I want to hit publish on are personal stories that people have, learned sometimes the hard way, or, they've grown from their experience, and then what they've learned can help others. I think that those are more interesting stories. I enjoy when part-time writers or hobbyists share about their what they bring from their professional life into their writing and how they start drawing connections between what they do in one world and another. And sometimes I think writing feels like this big, like scary, intimidating thing for new writers. And so those type of stories, I think, break down that wall a little bit and make it a little bit more relatable to people to see how they can start drawing connections in their own lives. We have a rule in the Writing Cooperative that if I think that it could have been written by an AI generator, then that's not what we're publishing. There's people who like to write that style, that there's people who that's what they do, and that's completely fine. Again, there's a market for that. It's just not the Writing Cooperative. That's not what we're looking at. I want human stories about personal experience. We stopped publishing stories a number of years ago about how to make money on Medium and how to grow your SEO clicks and all that kind of stuff. There's plenty of publications and places for that. The Writing Cooperative, I like to focus on, here's what I learned. Maybe you can learn as well, which is a different type of writing. And again, like I said earlier, there's a home for everybody's type of writing. Just because I say it's not a fit for the publication doesn't mean it's not good. It's not a value judgment on anything. It's hey, this is not fit for what we publish here.
Yeah, there was a time when I started on Medium, I was, for instance, writing about like mother's blog. So not the writer's blog, but the mother's blog. This was something that got accepted. And I also was writing about like the writing muse and something like this. So this is, I think, something like more original. And I know that we also going to talk about Walter Rhein in a sec. But I think what you talked about with AI, this is huge on Medium, because although Medium took a clear stance against AI on the platform, and also a lot of people at the moment get like suspended and so on. What do you think about like this future, also based on what you see on Medium?
You're able to make money on Medium and do well. And so people see that and they see the AI tools and they're like, ooh, we can make this really easy and then I can make a lot of money. And that's why I think Medium has doubled down on human curation, the Boost program. It's all human driven. Now, I cannot say with certainty that I've never published something that's been generated by AI. I don't. And I think that as AI generation continues to improve, that might be harder to detect. The free might be AI generated and the paid might be human generated. And I've been struggling with this for a couple of months now because I don't want to see a crappy version of the internet that's free for those who can't afford a good version of the internet that's human generated. That just seems like we're moving into a kind of nightmare scenario. Like I made the decision recently that I'm not putting everything that I have behind my paid subscription, because that is kind of fundamentally against what I believe about the internet, that you share a link on social media and people should be able to access it and read it. And personally, I don't immediately pay for a subscription or even give my email to a creator if I can't read what they've written and say, hey, that's interesting. I like what they do. I want more of that. And so I think this is a struggle that every creator is going to have to kind of find their own balance with. And unfortunately, it's not super clear because, again, I do believe that writers should be able to make money for their what they write. I think that people should support writers. But I also believe that people who can't afford it or, have limited means should also have access. And so it's a dichotomy that I deal with. And I think that all creators have to kind of figure out where they stand in that as well.
Hi, it's Christina. Do you want to meet Justin live? Then you're going to join my online writing school, the membership experience that comes if you subscribe to my newsletter. So see you inside in the live session. So what do you think about all the algorithm changes on Medium and on social media in general?
Writers, creators should have their own corner of the internet. They should have their own website where they're building their list, their following there, and use platforms like Medium to find new people to connect with. If you put all of your eggs into one basket on a platform, be it Medium or YouTube or Twitter, the platforms make changes and they make decisions that make sense for the company. And that might not be in alignment with what you are hoping to achieve on the platform. And so I've been a part of so many beta programs over the years and with Medium and the Writing Cooperative, and all of the different changes and things that they try have all had the same goal in mind, and that's to expand reach, expand membership, expand viewers. How they go about it changes because, times change, preferences change. And so those kind of changes don't bother me. It's just part of doing business. I think when people get upset about those changes, they have to take a step back and say, okay, this platform is a sandbox that I'm allowed to play in. It's not I don't own it. I don't control it. I'm allowed to play there. But at the end of the day, that's why I have built my own website, because that's the sandbox that I can control. And if there's a change that needs to be made, it's one that I'm gonna make. I try to drive folks to that subscription, be it email or paid, whatever they want to do, or free. They can just read it on the website too. But that's the corner that I can control, that I don't get upset about logarithm changes or platform changes or any of that kind of thing.
What do you think about this hard paywall now on Medium? Of course, it is because of AI somehow, but what do you think about this approach for Medium?
I mean, again, Medium's a business at the end of the day. Their goal is to make money, and they do that by selling subscriptions. And the way that they make subscriptions or memberships more valuable is to have high quality content behind the paywall. So I don't fault them for that choice. That's that platform. As an individual writer on the platform, I still want my writing to be accessible and in a place that I can control. And so that's why I typically cross post between my website and Medium. Well, one, should people not have the means to pay behind the paywall, they have access to most of my writing. And then two, I firmly believe that if you don't control your own creations, then you are at risk at losing them. Something could happen and tomorrow Medium doesn't exist anymore. And if I've spent all of my time building up an audience and create my writing that only exists there and it goes away, then I no longer have any of that. And my writing is mine. And one of the great things about Medium's terms is that you publish there, it is still yours. It's not theirs. But I want to make sure that I've got copies of it. I've got, it exists outside of the platform. And that's the same with any platform that I use, that if it's something that I created, that I am passionate about, then I want to make sure it's somewhere that I always have access to it.
It's called like your Medium website flywheel, something like this. I know you're on Ghost. I guess your website is then also created via Ghost. Could you share a bit more about this? Because so many don't know about it and they are afraid of sharing their content and repurposing it.
Yeah, so the Medium terms basically say that you give Medium a license to display your content for the duration that it exists on Medium. And so you still own the content. You still use what you created and what you wrote is yours. You're just saying, hey, while I'm publishing it on Medium, you can also share it, which is great. And so the way that I kind of function is everything gets published to my website. Typically within like 5 minutes or so, it publishes on Medium. And so the website is for all the SEO nonsense that I really don't spend or care too much to spend time on. But for all the SEO stuff, then my website is the canonical link, the original source. And then Medium is where it cross posts to. So that's my workflow. And so I schedule everything at the same time. I typically schedule things a few days to a few weeks in advance. And so that's the pattern. I schedule it for my website, and then whatever the time that I scheduled it for, I add a few minutes to it for when it goes live on Medium.
How many followers does the Writing Cooperative has? How many followers do you have? And compare a bit like the views from your website to your views on Medium, because many ask, is Medium still worth it? Is Medium dying? What's the power of Medium in 2024?
I don't spend a lot of time looking at stats. In fact, I don't have any kind of tracking metrics on my website at all. The reason for that is it's not that important to me. What is important to me is the people who engage, respond, hit reply. That's the metric that I judge. Granted, it's completely subjective. That tells me people are engaged. And so on the only metric that it does count is how many subscribers there are. There's like 20,000 or so. On Medium, I have like 105, 110,000 followers, somewhere in that range. And the last I looked at the publication, it was like 240-ish. I can't tell you the last time I looked at my Medium stats page. The only notifications I have turned on for the Medium app are when somebody replies to me. Because the way that Medium's notification system works, I actually get a notification every single time somebody submits to the publication. So I haven't looked at my Medium notifications in forever. And actually, I think there's like 90,000 of them or some ridiculous number, like, because I never look at them. And I've got so many email filters set up. And so the only emails that I get from Medium are when somebody responds. And so that's my engagement, whether that's healthy, like you said, or just like overly restrictive. I don't know.
I think 20,000 subs, this is amazing, I think. And do you know how many subscribers you have on Medium? Because what many don't know is you can also gain subscribers on the platform.
Yeah, most of my biggest growth happened before that was a feature. The last I looked at it was probably a few months ago, and it was a few hundred subscribers. There was a period where you could only subscribe via email to publication. And so the Writing Cooperative has, the last I looked, and it's probably been about, I don't know, a year or two since I looked at the email subscribers for the Writing Cooperative, but it's got 10, 15, 20,000, somewhere around there. There was a time where you could only subscribe via email to publications. And then as Medium continued to iterate, it required opt-ins, and then it required like all these other steps. And that's when they rolled it out for actual individuals. A lot of people like to compare Medium to Substack, but they're really two very different beasts. Like you can subscribe to Medium writers for email, but you're just going to get an email when something publishes. It's not like an actual newsletter, and those types of writing are very different too. That's not Medium's strong suit. And that's not a bad thing, because what they do focus on is actually the article, the content, and they do that well.
Yeah, and the focus of Medium is, of course, that you gain followers, and then on Substack, it is all about like gaining subscribers and paid subscribers, of course. And
Yeah.
Justin, from these 20,000 subscribers on your publication, can you export these subscribers?
So you can export them, but you can only export the ones that have given permission to be exported. And that didn't exist for the first 6 months to a year of when you could subscribe to email. So those folks for the first year or so, unless they went back in and changed their settings after it was created, which from a privacy standpoint, I applaud Medium for doing it this way. Not every company would. You can, but there's a lot of caveats and asterisks next to it.
I see. And when did this time of your biggest growth happen? And how did you, gain these subscribers then? Was it that you linked to your email list early on? Because so many say now that they should have, started their email list way earlier.
Yeah, my biggest growth period on the platform was probably around between 2019 and like 2022, I would say would probably be the biggest period of growth for me. It was pretty steady leading up to that point, but then it kind of exploded. I was more active than I am currently on the platform at that point. Essentially 2 things a week. I have my writer interviews on Wednesday and then my newsletter on Tuesdays. I was writing a lot and engaging a lot more than I currently do. And that was my biggest period of growth. Frankly, I had more time in my world and in my life during that period. But yeah, I'd say that kind of 3 or so year window was where everything kind of exploded.
Yeah. And 2022, where were you then with your followers?
I was gaining a few thousand new followers a month during that explosive period. Now I get maybe a few hundred.
But do you think it were in 2022 more than 50,000, I guess?
It was definitely more than 50,000. I think it started tapering off around the 100,000 mark.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons could be that some, are leaving the platform. You've been on the platform for so long, people are leaving.
People come and go. That's another thing I've learned over the decade is that people come and go from the platform. And there was a period where I was one of the writers that was recommended when you onboarded. And that helped fuel my growth significantly. And I was appreciative of it. But I did not continue the work level, if you will, to maintain that because it was not sustainable for me personally to continue to move at that pace.
Yeah. In regard to time, how much time you spent on the platform, also sustainable in regard that, everything changed. And then after 2020, you were like earning less than before.
No, it was really just my time and where my focus was, and in my real job and in life, they grew, and as a result, time to be able to really kind of engage and write. And also, I started spending more time per thing that I was writing, and I read some of the stuff that I wrote then, and it's good, and I'm proud of it still, but I'm a better writer than I am now, or was then. And I have grown as both a person and as a writer. And there's no real wrong way to be a writer, but all writers go through different periods, and that's okay. And so and that, again, as you've heard me say, the numbers and the stats don't mean a lot to me. When everything kind of started tapering off, it wasn't like oh no. It was just okay, well, this is the period I'm in now, and that's completely fine.
Besides the Writing Cooperative, there are so many other awesome and top-notch publications on Medium I'd like to show you. So join my membership experience to learn more, become a paid subscriber, and get access to the courses, to Medium School, and also to the community. And of course, meet awesome voices such as Justin inside the school in a live session. Have you ever been approached by someone? I know that you also have your own book, where you're also approached by someone, by an agent or so, or I don't know, by a publication so many are Business Insider and Huffington and so on. And there was a time on Medium where so many were featured there. How about you? Media coverage, book deals and so on. I don't know, courses, cohorts, whatever.
I have worked with a number of agents, but not with my personal writing. My writing is more personal. It's more connective. And so when I decided to write the book, I kind of always viewed it as a personal project. I never thought about shipping or trying to pitch it to publications or publishers. The book itself was a learning experience for me. I had never gone through the self-publishing process. I published dozens of stories over the years from other writers who were talking about their experience and what they learned. And frankly, I kind of wanted to see what it was all about. Doing the whole agent thing was never really what I wanted. And also I wanted a little more control over what I was able to put out and create. And I've never been approached to take my writing mainstream. I have been published all over the place. And one of my fun early Medium stories that I am proud of is I wrote a piece. This was probably 2014, 2015. At the time, Sean Levy, who was the longtime editor of Wired magazine, had a publication on Medium called Back Channel. I got his assistant or editor, whoever it was, reached out to me and said, hey, we really like what you've written. We want to move it into Back Channel. He read the piece. He left a bunch of notes on it, edited it, cleaned it up. And so I was very, very proud of that. moment. And then about a year later, so it got moved to Wired, which is super fun, but there was some formatting things that broke, and so it's there and my name is there, but it's not the same exact article I wrote. But that experience was a lot of fun.
Justin, could you share a bit more about your book then? For everyone listening right now who'd like to, buy it.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Right Now. It came out in 2022, I think. It's basically how to start writing and put yourself out there. There's a lot of quite frankly things I learned in therapy about getting over your kind of the things that hold you back. Writing can be a very lonely endeavor. And it can be a very scary endeavor. At the end of the day, if you want to be a writer, the easiest thing to do is to start writing right now. The book was very well received. I'm very proud of it. I've been wanting to rewrite it for about 6 months and just have not quite gotten there, mainly because there's an entire chapter about engaging with other writers on platforms like Twitter. It's a very different world than it was a year or so or 2 years ago when I wrote that book. And so I was very proud of the book because it was very timeless and evergreen advice, with the exception of the technology section. And so I've been thinking about how to rewrite that entire section so that it doesn't date itself very quickly like it did in the original. But I wanted to write a book that had worksheets and guided activities, and I'm proud of kind of what was created as a result. To come back to Walter Rhein, he actually was very kind and wrote a review that you can find on Medium where he put my book in the same sentence and category as Stephen King's On Writing, which I think is absolutely ludicrous, but I thought it was a very nice thing for him to say.
I see, and that's why he became a columnist then for your
Yeah, no, that reason
publication.
alone was the one. Yeah, no, I think he might have actually already been a columnist at that point. But yeah, it was very nice of him to say that.
Yeah, and how did Walter Rhein became your columnist then? I know he told me about this, but I think this is actually cool, and it shows that consistency pays eventually then off.
I think right now we have like between 10 and 12 active columns on the Writing Cooperative. I have publishing slots each day. And so there's 1 to 2 column slots a day and then 1 to 2 just general submission slots a day. So I reevaluate who's still writing columns, who might want to take a break or make a change from. Some of them are weekly, some of them are every other week type of things. If I have enough spots open, then I'll take open pitches to say, hey, you have something you want to write about? Pitch and tell me what your column could look like. And I like to lean really heavily into personal experience. And so Walter's writing is it's great. He has a really great way of telling stories that weave through his point. And so he's got a column that publishes on Mondays. We've got a number of columns that, like David Clear has a column that's been running on the Writing Cooperative for years now.
He's German. I think he's living in Berlin. German.
Okay. Again, I like different perspectives. I like different levels of experience. And our columns, they provide that unique perspective, but on a consistent basis. And so I don't know when the next time I'll open up for column pitches again but that is something that happens from time to time as continue to reevaluate, who's still interested, basically.
And there are some other questions from the community I got. One question I got was, is the Writing Cooperative Boost eligible?
Yeah, we were one of the original invitees to the Boost beta or whatever they called it back then. I don't want to publish anything that I would not feel comfortable nominating for Boost. And so that doesn't mean that I actually nominate everything that gets published for Boost. That criteria is pretty close for me. So yeah, we are Boost eligible.
Cool. So you're a Boost nommer then?
Yes.
Do you have any tips, for writers how to get boosted? For instance, in your publication, in the topic, I think writing then?
When Medium created the Boost nomination beta or whatever they called it originally and had this entire list of kind of criteria, I just put it all in my submission rules. And so I've been told by a lot of people that my submission rules are really detailed, but the reality is that most of them copy Medium's distribution rules over the years, their Boost rules. What I'm looking for in stories for the publication is really what Medium is looking for in boostable stories. And that's high quality, well written, experience based stories that help people think, grow, learn. And that's what I look for. And then that's what I nominate is stuff that really kind of like, oh, I didn't expect this, or I'd never known this, or this is something that's new to me, or this is an experience that I think more people need to hear about, or a perspective that more people need to read. And so that's what I tend to nominate. You can get up to 20 boosts or whatever a month. I've never hit that. I don't try to max out my nominations. I'm a little more selective than maybe I should be about what I nominate. 75% of what I nominate gets conveyed. And I know that I talk a lot about I don't care about stats. I care about that stat, and that's the one stat that I do track is what I recommend that then gets carried out. That stat tells me that what I'm publishing in the Writing Cooperative and what I'm accepting is the quality level that I'm hoping that it is. I want the publication to be a high quality reading experience for writers. That Boost kind of acceptance percentage tells me that that's what I'm doing.
And I know that you are the only publication that doesn't accept AI generated images.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're the only one that doesn't accept AI generated images.
I don't know about another one, so I guess you are the only one.
When we allowed that, and there was a time that I used it because it was new technology, it was interesting, it was fun. But the more that I kind of learned and thought about the whole AI thing, the more that I was like, I don't really like this. And to be quite frank, we have that 0 AI generated content rule. And so if I see an AI generated image, then I'm led to think in my brain, maybe unfairly, but it draws a connection that says, hey, if there's an AI generated image, there's probably AI generated writing in here as well. The articles that are submitted to me that have an AI generated image typically would not pass the standards of the publication for a number of other rules or reasons, whether it's the format, the quality, the content. It just kind of became an easy thing to say, just AI content, period, is not what we're looking for.
And then another question in regard to the boost is call to actions, Do you accept call to actions? So for instance, what Walter Rhein is doing is that he's just like at the end, he's having like this subscribe, but these subscribes isn't going to the Substack newsletter. It's going to the Medium newsletter or email list. What do you think about call to actions? Could I, for instance, link to my Substack newsletter, or would this be something that wouldn't get me boosted?
For the publication, we allow up to 3 lines of text for your call to action, and that's just regular text, not bolded, not like in heading format or, any of that kind of thing, but 3 lines of text with link. You can link to your website, you can link to your Substack, whatever you want to do. So linking to your website, your email list, Substack, whatever, I believe that that's fine in the Boost rules. I believe that it's either the Boost or the distribution. It might be the distribution rules. So the partner program rules for Medium, linking to outside payment platforms is a no-no. So like linking to Buy Me a Coffee or Stripe tip or PayPal payment or Cash App type things, those I believe are not permissible under the paywall rules for Medium.
Okay, but they are allowed in the tipping, You can tip people.
Yeah, so then maybe it's the Boost rules that's not allowed. I know that's in one of the Medium rules somewhere, is that...
Yeah, because this tipping feature, you can just say, I don't want to receive any tips, this is what you
Oh,
can do. But
are you
otherwise,
talking about the one that's built into Medium?
yeah, the built-in tipping feature, clickable image, something like this.
Yeah,
If
click
you feel
here and
tipsy,
give
go
me a
here.
donation on
Yeah.
PayPal.
I would have like some rapid fire questions. I would like to know, what are you doing for a living?
I work for a nonprofit consulting firm here in the United States. So we work with nonprofits all around the country and help them with compliance, help them with growth, educational resources, all that kind of fun stuff.
Have you ever met Tony Stubblebine?
Not in person, but Tony and I actually worked together on a project of his for a number of, actually probably over a year.
Yeah, coach me.
Yeah,
Was it
through
coach
Coach
me?
Me.
Yeah.
And we met regularly for, I think at least a year.
Via Zoom then?
Yeah, we were doing Zoom calls. Yeah, no, I've never met him in real life. He's in New York. I'm in Florida, and so paths haven't crossed to that point just yet.
Yeah, maybe, in
Maybe,
the
yeah.
future when
He's
they
great. He's a really nice guy.
inviting writers, that would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And is there one writer on the Medium platform you find inspiring?
Yeah, there's a lot of writers on the platform that I find inspiring, and some have come and gone over the years, but I only follow like 40 people on the platform. And I like to keep it really focused on what I like. And so if you're interested in who I follow, who I enjoy reading, I just click my follow list because it's really kind of well maintained.
Nice to hear this. So I have the feeling, Justin, from what you're sharing, you try to have like this digital detox, although you're writing on Medium and although you're an editor. And I can also remember when I used to be an editor for the short form, so a lot of short form writing, that I also used to get all these notifications and they were driving me crazy. I always say, like, longer isn't always better. But
Yeah.
for Medium, since it's like medium-sized content, what would you recommend? Is it short? Is it medium? Is it long? What would you recommend? Is there a specific like word count you would?
That's a great question. I always say that it needs to be as long as it needs to be clear and to be, to make the point. There was an article years ago, like probably 7 or 8 years ago, that somebody published that did this data analysis that 7 minutes was the right length, the read length for Medium. Whether that holds true or not, I don't know, but that's always kind of been in my brain. My newsletters tend to be like 3-minute reads. But again, I think it's, your style of writing, not you personally, but whoever, like individual people's style of writing, it's going to be different. And so trying to force something to a 7-minute read might not be the best solution. That's why I say it should be as long as it needs to be. It's easy to make it too long, and when people read, they know if it's too long. But yeah, I don't think there's a magic read length or word count or anything.
So, and is there like one mistake you'd say you made in the last 10 years writing on the internet? I don't know, a chance you didn't take or something like this?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years, there's a lot of mistakes that I made writing on the internet. I've grown a lot as a writer and as a person in those 10 years. And so it's hard to, look back and say I would have done everything exactly the same, because I don't think I would have. But the choices I made then were the right choices that I made at those times. And so I like to, focus on what's next and where I'm going, and I want to continue to grow. And so to answer your question, maybe I would have wanted to pivot my newsletter subscription earlier than I did. But again, back then, that wasn't necessarily a big kind of focus. And so generally, I've been very happy with my writing, and mainly because it's connected me to people all over the world that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to. And so having this conversation with you across thousands of miles and time zones, this is what my writing has been able to facilitate. And I have similar conversations with writers, whether it's through the replies to emails or whatever it is, from all over the world. And as I said, I don't really care about the statistics or the follower counts or anything, but it's those connections that I really do enjoy. Medium really has been the reason that all of that has been possible.
For me, yeah, it feels the same. And I also love, connecting with so many people. And yeah, I love this interview so much. Justin, thank you so much. It was delightful.
Well, thank you, Christina. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, but we missed one thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Justin, if now people fall in love with you and, of course, your writing, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, so justincox.com is my website. I'm at Justin Cox on Medium. And so that's the easiest way. So my social network of choice these days is Mastodon. So I'm at Justin Cox at social.lol. And I'm also on Threads at Justin Cox. I'm pretty much at Justin Cox wherever you're looking for me.
Yeah, and for all the listeners, thank you so much for listening. If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show and see you in the next episode.